Be strong.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, soul man and friends, people. Stephen here, and this morning's surgery we have got the very amazing friend of mine, which is the lovely Sue Watson, or Susan Watson. I always call her Sue. I should always think actually her name is Susan, but I call her Sue for whatever reason. That's a sign that you know you care about someone when you start abbreviating their name. So today we're going to be talking to Susan all about stress, how we can relieve stress, all of that stuff. It's Susan's field of expertise. So if you do have any questions for Susan, please do pop them into the comment section. And most of all, enjoy the surgery. I had to see your face.
I was like, oh my God, he's not there. What am I going to do? I'll just sit and smile. I was like, I better say something.
Oh, Susan, that was hilarious. I thought I'm gonna take myself off camera and just bring Susan up, and she went.
That's no funny, Stephen. I was like, ah!
You need to look back on this video and see your face at that point you done this.
Well, I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, that's funny.
I actually thought, something's happened to Stephen's camera. He's put this on for an hour. Am I meant to sit here myself and talk for an hour? I was just going to go.
I'm just going to hand you over to Susan. See you later.
Come back.
So Susan, this morning, obviously, like we do every day, we're talking about stress and how to dial down stress and how to be that better version of yourself. And I think that, you know, right throughout lockdown, that's definitely been the real focus that your surgeries have all been around, is really getting people into a good state of physical, mental awareness. So based on last week, because we're speaking very much last week about, you know, the exercises on how to dial down stress in the body. And interestingly, right throughout the whole week, I suppose I don't really think too much about dialing down stress until I see you on a Friday or on a Monday.
Is that because I stress you?
No. But it goes back to what we were saying last week. You know, it's really easy to get into that state of not doing these exercises, and that could potentially take you back up to that very stressful state. So would you agree with that? Yeah.
It's not potentially, it will take you up to that state, because what you're doing every time you relax is you're dialing it down. It's always going to go back up, and that's why you've got to keep doing it throughout the day to keep pulling yourself back out of it. Yeah. So everybody will go back up if you don't do it.
And is that really common though for people to, you know, like start these exercises and then forget about them, or yeah?
You've got to, if you think you've got to build it up almost like a habit, you've got to keep doing them consciously so that it moves into being habitual, that automatic part of your brain, so that you start doing it without even thinking. That's what habits are. It's something that you have done often enough where it becomes automatic. You do it without even thinking, because your brain puts it on the automatic pilot to free brain space up. So you just, that's why we end up with bad habits. But this is a good one.
I am
So
deliberately moving out the way of the camera so I can shut the blinds because I was
that's right.
looking like some kind of heavenly figure there.
No, so you really, at first, you have to consciously keep doing it. But it doesn't, I mean, I say do it 100 times a day, and I freak out when I say 100 times a day. But all I'm talking about is every opportunity you get, just remember to take a breath and relax your body. Whether you're having dinner, you're having lunch, breakfast, every time you sit down, just get used to relaxing your body. And then what happens if you're going into situations that you know cause you stress, relax your body. If I was going to feel myself getting wound up with you and I just about to answer you back and be cheeky to you, Stephen, take a breath, relax my body, because it just dials that response thing. And you end up having better relationships with people you're living with because we're not reacting to each other as well, because you're keeping that level thing.
So does that mean that when you and I are having conversations in the future and you go, that means I'm pissing you off?
Pretty much. You're like, Scott, my husband, as much as I love him dearly, being in the house with somebody all the time can be hard work, right? Especially as I'm used to having my own space. Luckily, I can come out in this wee office, but I know that when last year during lockdown, I was really biting at him. Like he was pressing my buttons, and I was like a big Rottweiler. And I found this: we were starting to argue over stupid things like who put a teaspoon or something like that. It was just because we were all our anxiety and stress levels were up. And I started doing this, just becoming more aware of how I'm reacting, not him, how I'm reacting, and taking that breath and reacting my body, relax my body. And because I wasn't responding in the way that I had been previously, that didn't spark that response for him. So actually, our life is so much better and calmer, and we're not actually getting on each other's nerves, basically, because that's what it was, as much as we have been previously. We've been stuck together.
Interestingly, I'm just looking at this, right? And what you're saying, I think, is quite a good topic for today, actually, and that is the whole getting through lockdown with your loved ones, and most specifically your spouse, or your partner, or whatever it may be, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. And interestingly, since the pandemic broke a year ago, there's massive spikes in breakups and divorces worldwide, actually. So what's your thought on that? Do you think it's because, and there's a 34% rise in divorce in the last 12 months?
Really, I think it's really hard in relationships. I mean, relationships take a lot of effort and hard work anyway. I mean, they do. Nobody is perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect relationship at all. Everybody will have their ups and downs, and it's having patience and it's being able to work through things and listen to each other. So if you think about that, patience, work through, listening to each other, and not spark off, if you like, and start fighting all the time. That is all the things that you do when you've got high stress levels and high anxiety. You didn't listen. You don't think clearly because your brain's switched off. You become very reactive. And these are all the things that are detrimental to relationships, really, that make relationships a lot harder. So if you're stuck in a house with somebody, you're stressed, anxious. Think of families, actually. I'm very blessed because I'm not in this situation, but think of families that are stuck in the house and they've got their kids. Think of yourselves, you've got homeschooling and all the rest of it. And more importantly, people who are stuck in wee flats and all the rest of it, there's no space. Because no wonder people are arguing and getting stressed and anxious. And that, without a doubt, makes relationships harder.
And when people are, obviously, we're going into kind of relationship
Well, I'm
work
talking
here.
about the stress here. The stress impacts people. And there's
Yeah,
people in the relationship, so it's going to have that impact too.
definitely. So, like I say, though, speaking about relationships, because I think that's vitally important that we talk about that as well, because, there might be people going through difficult situations in their romantic relationships right now that this surgery might really help them find the tools that they need to deal with that stress, whatever it might be. So when someone's going through quite a stressful situation with a partner, what's the best ways in which you can dial down stress in that situation?
Dial down stress is the same in any situation. It always is relaxing your body, taking a breath and just letting it go. Doing anything you can to dial down your own. You can only be responsible for your stress levels.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the important thing is remember is that when you're living with somebody so close, if you're anxious and stressed, remember the motor neurons in the body will pick up the signal of other people's anxiety and stress. So it will have a knock-on effect. So absolutely use all the self-regulation exercises we've talked about, like the wet noodle, relaxing the body, tensing the arms, letting it go, the breathing exercises, because that's what's really important. Because if you keep yourself in that balanced place without feeling over anxious and stressed, the key is that you're not going to be waiting. You're not on that sort of defensive zone, waiting for the next thing that's going to go wrong. You're feeling balanced, you're feeling in control, and you'll be able to respond the way you want to respond. Because what happens when we're stressed and anxious and somebody does something, we're not using our thinking brain. That's why Scott and I were arguing over a teaspoon and things like that. Just gets you just respond. Do you know what I mean? You just respond instinctively,
Yeah.
and you start arguing over things that actually, if you were to look at them, have no real importance. It's the stress and anxiety that's causing the problem, not the teaspoon. And
Mm-hmm.
people start to argue when they get stressed about little things and it just keeps building up. And then you think, you know what, we're not getting on. All we ever do is argue. All we ever do is fight. This is a rubbish relationship, and I'm always feeling really sad, unhappy, and anxious and stressed. So everybody, but I'm talking about everybody, not just a single person. Everybody in our house has to practice that and look after and be responsible for their own stress levels.
Yeah. And what's interesting for me when you're saying that, that whole dialing down, removing yourself from situations as well, like walking away, I suppose, and actually going away and thinking about what you want to say rather than being reactive. Yesterday, it's funny because Nikki is she's at uni just now and she's busy studying, and I'm trying to work and we're trying to homeschool and do everything else at the same time. So yesterday, really funny, she the kids had obviously went up there and interrupted her, and she's sending me text messages like, "Do you want to look after your kids, you arsehole," and all the rest of it. And
So we do.
I'm sending her back messages, get an effing grippy yourself, and we're like, she's upstairs and I'm downstairs, where we could, so I suppose text messages as well can often cause a bit of, ugh.
Yeah. You know what? It's anything that's a form of communication, really, because text is just, we might not be doing it face to face, but then we're reading into things and we can say things that are really quite hurtful. But it's also important to remember that anyone with high stress levels, anxiety, anger, all that thinking negatively, can't think straight, all that sort of stuff is perfectly normal. It's a perfectly normal way to feel, in particular in the way the world is today. So we've got to take extra steps to soothe our minds and body, to calm ourselves down.
Mm-hmm. I truly believe that any relationship that's going through difficult times, I truly believe that it can be fixed, but there needs to be communication on both sides, doesn't there? There needs to be that, let's both work together.
Well, I'll say maybe I've got a different view for you there, Stephen.
Good.
Because I think some relationships can't be fixed.
Okay.
There's some relationships that run their course and people have to closely look at it and make a decision. Is it right for them? And I'm talking about relationships that can be, because there's lots of things that go on in the home that aren't just people arguing. I mean, some relationships, you've got to think of your own well-being and health. And I would never therefore say that all relationships can be fixed, because some relationships perhaps are best for your own safety and well-being not to be in them.
It's interesting because there's also in looking at these statistics, there's also a 62% rise in domestic violence as well. And, I suppose that is where you get to that stage where things are unsafe, so.
Yeah.
That's
but luckily there's lots of places that can offer support for anyone experienced. That's man, woman, whatever it is, whatever your gender is, there's always places that can help you move safely out of your environment into somewhere where you can be safe.
Yeah.
And that's important because a lot of people in that situation feel there is no way out. And I'm saying there definitely is.
Yeah. So if you are watching this morning, you know, and you were going through any of these difficult emotional times, you know, send us a wee message, send Susan a message, or myself and the Soul Man and Friends, and we've got lots of resources to help you. Susan's got many numbers, websites, things like that can help you out. And equally, I've got a big book of resources there as well, and local charities, local organisations that can help and support. So we don't want to go down.
Yeah. I do speak about that a lot, but I want to sort of point one more thing out, and I know I've said for any gender, but people tend to think that the majority of violence in the home situation or wherever is linked to women, but it's very important that this happens to recognise that it does happen to males as well, and that there is support out there for men too.
Yeah, it happens to men more than I think people realise as well, though, doesn't it? You know, it's
I just felt it was important to mention that because there's this image that a man should be a man, and they find it hard to push through that and admit that this is what's happening to them. And it's important to know that there's people who understand and can help them. Right, I'm not going to go down that road. I just wanted to make that clear because it was so important.
It's nice though that, you know, we can have that light and shade where we can have serious moments as well, you know, because we're all very much about inspiring people, but equally at the same time, you know, there is some people that are living through real trauma. So like I say, if anybody needs any kind of support, please do send us a message and we can put you in touch with the right people that would be able to help and support you.
Yeah.
So, Susan, let's go into a more positive subject, and let's talk about more ways on how to dial down stress. So we've spoke about the wet noodle. We've spoke about what else did we speak about? We've got the wet noodle.
We've got the body scan.
Body scan.
Using colours.
Breathing.
Yeah. Pelvic floor. Remember the pelvic floor?
Yep, that one.
And you can use the grounding, which would be like look for 5 things that you can see and name them, and then touch 4 things that you can see. You know, you go through it, then 3, using your senses, things that you can smell. Is there anything here that you can taste? So what you're doing is you're drawing your mind back into using all your senses again, and it just really grounds you. But I always say when you're doing that, press your feet into the ground. Because it makes you more aware of your body when you press your feet into the ground. You can really feel that going through your body.
That's interesting, actually. The see 5 things, touch 5 things. That's a really good one, actually.
Just the Havening one, I quite like that as well. Just from your shoulders to your elbow, you just lift up, go down your arm, lift up, down your arm, and that's all you do. It's like clapping a pet.
Yeah.
But it is actually, it's really self-soothing. And if you were standing up, you just add a wee sway onto that. Like you sway with a baby in your arms. And it's actually, your body likes that. It's really comforting. It's like, yes, give me more.
It is actually.
It is. Even just taking your hands along your forehead, or do the figure 8 sign on your middle of your forehead. That's quite soothing as well.
Yeah, I have to say I like the tapping. You know, because we've done that before, where you tap on your eyebrow, you tap on your, is it your cheekbone, your jaw?
There's different versions. That's the longer one. The one I would do for just sort of bring it down straight. I'm going to take my glasses off for this, right?
Okay.
So you will disappear. Right. All you do is you're feeling really stressed. Tap. You can do this with me, Stephen. Tap the start of your eye. I can still see your hands moving. So you tap the start of your eyebrow, and I'm just saying to myself, just release it and let it go. So whatever I'm feeling, just release it and let it go. Then you've got the bone at the side of your eye. I'm just releasing it all. I'm just letting it go. And you're really seeing yourself releasing this. Whatever feeling you've got that you don't want, just get rid of it. And you go under your eye, bone under your eye. Just breathe. Then under your nose, just letting it go. Just releasing it. I was going to say my favourite word, but I won't say it. Just let it go. All the bad stuff. Then your chin. Just let it go. Just click your chin. Then you go to your collarbone and just tap your collarbone. And we're just letting it go. And this is my favourite bit now. Go to the bone in front of your wrist.
The bone in the front of your wrist.
Well, go in the front of the bone on your wrist.
Whoa.
And squeeze it. Close your eyes. And for 30 seconds, I want you to just give yourself a gift of peace. Go somewhere in your mind that's peaceful, or really make that sense of peace as strong as you can. Until it travel all the way through your body. That wonderful sense of peace. And then all you do is take a breath, and you can open your eyes, Stephen, and just see how you're doing. And then what you can do, if you're saying, you'll feel it come down, but if you want to do another round of that, you would just do another round of it, just to get rid of it. It's really good for anger, if you're feeling angry. Or just any, it's emotional freedom technique. So it's for any unhelpful emotion that you're feeling. You can just, if you notice you're letting yourself feel, so there's none of this burying it inside you or pushing it away or trying to ignore it. You're letting yourself feel, and then you're making a decision to release it and let it go. And at the end of it, you're giving yourself that wee gift of peace and comfort. And it does, it works.
That's great. It really does make a difference, though. It makes you feel really nice and calm, doesn't it?
You can do that as well if you've got a craving for something. Like, say, I don't know, I used to tell smokers to do it, or stopping smoking, or folk who didn't want to eat the biscuits or anything. Whatever your craving is, at that moment, just do that wee quick tapping, then doing that in your wrist, and it puts sort of a break on that feeling that you're craving.
Interesting. But I wanted to ask you about that as well, because we were speaking about you and I had done a wee video for our wellness hub, and it was all about overeating and I suppose doing things in excess. And what we were saying is, if you've got a habit that you want to change, or what you were saying, sorry, is if you've got a habit that you want to change, you must change that habit, but then there must be a reward attached to the habit.
You can't, it's very difficult to just stop a habit. Willpower alone is very unlikely to stop a habit long term. You'll be able to do it for a period of time, but it'll come back again, okay? Because it's in that automatic part of your brain, right? What you have to do is replace it. You have to replace the habit with something else that you want to do that has an equal or more or greater reward than the habit you're trying to stop doing. The reason we're doing habits, there's 3 steps. There's something that triggers us, something that makes us think, I want that, right? And then you've got the action on the back of it, and then it gives us some kind of reward. It gives us a feel good. So that's why when you're going to replace that habit, you've got to replace it. You'll have that trigger. You replace it by something else, but it's got to have that greater feel good, that greater reward for us, for it to be replaced in the old habit.
So if it was a smoker, what would if someone was trying to stop smoking and they were replacing that habit, what would you recommend that to be? Just anything that makes them feel good, really?
Couldn't be me that would choose it. It has to be something, because what makes me feel good wouldn't make them feel good. So they have to recognise what gives them that feeling of adrenaline or reward or confidence or whatever it is. They'll have to find that, because I could help them find it. We could go through exercises together to try and identify it, but I can't tell them, because what makes me feel absolutely amazing may make them feel absolutely rubbish. You know what I mean? So it's got to be something they can do themselves.
Do you think that's why people, when they stop smoking, they gain weight, because they reward themselves with food or with things that are high in calories? That
comfort, there's comfort in food.
Yeah,
without a doubt. Because when people are, sadly, even when people are grieving, we tend to be drawn to these sort of stodgy foods that give us that sense of, oh, all right, well, we're eating it. Then people build up habits, and you've got people who go for like all the stodgy foods all the time. And that's what we were talking about. What is it you're actually feeling? What emotion are you feeling that you are, instead of working on it and finding out what that emotion is and what's lacking in your life, what you're actually needing, you're feeding it. And that's what I say all the time. You'll, no matter how much food you eat, you will never satisfy a hungry heart, because you can't satisfy a hungry heart with food. We need to look at what's going on emotionally.
That's fascinating, eh? You can't satisfy a hungry heart with food. And a hungry heart could be anything, really. It could be someone who's like lost their partner, you know.
And there's a grieving process to go through for that. I mean, people, do you know what? Sometimes at moments, and I've my grief page, I've said this to people. At moments, it's okay to sit down and have some comfort food that gives you that sense of feeling okay. It only becomes a problem when you start to live your life around it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only thing that gives you that sense of comfort is food. That's when it becomes a problem, because we've got to look at what's going on underneath it. Is it loneliness? Is it sadness? How do you actually feel about yourself? Because sometimes food is a way of punishing yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met people who have had really traumatic or challenging relationships with people in the past. And what they do is they purposely, they know they're doing it, that they've actually eaten so much, try and make themselves unattractive, because they don't want that attention anymore, because the attention for the opposite sex, that's male and female. So it can be a way of protection, it can be a way of punishment, it can be reward. There's so many things that food can actually be. It's very rarely just about food.
It's heartbreaking how someone can get to that stage, though, where they feel so bad about themselves that they want to make themselves unattractive.
It's not that they feel so bad about themselves, it's a form of protection, because what they are is they're scared that if they have, if someone finds them attractive and they're drawn into a relationship, that they're putting themselves in a dangerous situation again. It's everything we do tends to have a positive reason. So that, although we look at that and think, well, that's no positive, but you're actually doing it for a protection. So that the protection's a positive reason.
Interesting. So
there's always, your body and mind will not do anything to harm you. Whatever it is, even if it's we see it as harmful, somewhere in your mind it believes it's a protection or to keep you safe.
Yeah, because the mind is designed to keep you comfortable, isn't it? So if you
survive, keep you surviving as much as possible.
It's funny because so many people, say, when you're feeling uncomfortable, you're growing and you're learning. But surely that should be the natural state, to grow and learn without feeling uncomfortable.
It's a fear. It's a fear that makes you feel uncomfortable. Because you have a fear of the unknown. If you feel uncomfortable when you go into new situations, when you're going into new learning, you feel uncomfortable because of fear. There's that, everybody's got an element of self-doubt, haven't they? Will I be able to do this? Will I manage this? How am I going to feel doing this? What are other people going to think of me? You've got all that stuff going on as well, and people feel fear. But if you avoid that and never feel that, then you'll never really live, because you just live in a little bubble of not doing anything.
Yeah, because the body can go there, but the mind often, your body will always go there first, won't it? But the mind is always last to follow almost, isn't it? Would you agree?
I don't know. You'll have to explain it a bit more.
So what I mean is that, if you want to do something, if it's something physical, you can put yourself in that situation, you can do it. You might not be very good at it, but what happens is you'll give it a bash anyway, and then the mind follows. Would you not agree?
No. I don't know. I'm not quite catching on. See, I think
You
that.
meant to agree, Susan.
Well, I didn't always agree with you, Stephen. And I just tell you to shut your face, actually.
So I think that if you can go there in the body first, right? So, for instance, this morning I'm sitting and I'm thinking, I can't be bothered taking the dog out. I don't want to. I'm just going to let him at the back for a pee, right? But I just done it. I just got out and done it. I just took the dog a walk. And actually, I felt so much better as a result of it because I've been out a walk.
Right, I've got you now. I've got you. I know what you're saying now. Yeah, in that instance, yeah, you're making yourself do something. You find out you're enjoying it a lot more than you actually thought you would. But that works two ways, and it can go both ways, really, because it's actually really helpful to have your mind switched on and have the right mindset. That's the best way to do it. But you're absolutely right. If you're feeling like, oh, can I really be bothered? Push yourself to do it, and you find that you just sort of join in and get in that zone and make the most of it anyway.
Yeah, so the body's doing it, the mind's following, really, isn't it?
You just want me to say, yes, Stephen, I agree with you. Eh?
Yeah.
Yes, Stephen. Yeah.
Sorry.
Anything to shut him up. No, there is. I can see what you're saying, that the mindset might not be there. You go out and do it, and actually your mind joins in, and you're thinking, do you know what? I'm glad I've done that. I feel so much better for it. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I think there's this, like you as well, I'm doing this whole holistic approach to being that better version of myself. And, there's many, many things that I'm doing to get myself to that place. But it's all about like just what's happening today. It's less about what's happening tomorrow or less about my overall goal. It's just thinking, what am I in control of today? What am I in control of right now in this moment? Am I safe in this moment? Yeah, I'm sitting talking to Susan. Of course I'm safe. And I think people can get so caught up on what's coming or the future, and that's what puts us into that state of anxiety, really, isn't it?
No.
All right then, come on then, share with me.
No, because what happens is your nervous system is activated with high stress levels. And remember that stress and anxiety is a normal reaction to a sympathetic nervous system that is too much stress in it. That's absolutely normal. And that's where anxiety comes from. However, anxiety is future-based, because once your stress levels are up that high, then when you look forward, you start to think about all the things that could go wrong. That's a future-based anxiety. But however, it's not a case of not looking into the future. Because in fact, goals can be really good for you. What it is a case of always turning down your stress, turning down the stress levels, dialing down, using your wet noodles and all the rest of it, which will prevent you and help you not feeling anxious. And then you'll be able to have goals about the future and not worry about them, because you'll be motivated and you'll be excited about all the positive changes you can make in your life. Does that answer your question?
You're a smart arse.
It's true.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But that's actually really, really positive. I've never thought of it like that, because I've always thought, if you're thinking too much about the future, you're in this state of like, oh no. Where actually what you're saying is right. If we can dial down the stress now, it means that we can put in really positive goals and intentions for the future.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So it's not the looking at the future that causes anxiety. It's this active nervous system that puts you in a state of feeling under threat, which then makes the future scary. So if you manage the nervous system and turn down your stress and anxiety, you'll be able to look into the future with some more joy and hope and purpose.
We talk about the nervous system a lot when we're working on Fridays and Mondays, Susan. And just in case anybody's not aware of it, you often speak about the two different states of your nervous system, which are your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. So your sympathetic nervous system's the and parasympathetics
It's
Would that
rest
be
and
right?
rest and digest. And there's the one that just remember it's all energy. That's what I'm going to say. Stress is energy. When we move into having too much energy, too much stress in our body, we'll all do that. And I want to say is every single one of us will always go into too much stress. We'll all
Yeah.
have moments of anxiety, anger, exhaustion, no sleeping right, all this. Always, every one of us move in and out of both these nervous systems. We need them because if we didn't have it, we would just lie there like floppy balls on the floor and not get off our ass and do anything. So we need that. That's true. We need that energy. Healthy. It only becomes a problem when you live in that toxic, high level of stress all the time.
Yeah.
So your sympathetic nervous system's dominant. So you always feel anxious, you always feel stressed, you're not sleeping right, you're feeling angry, you're feeling exhausted, you're feeling ill because you start to feel ill. That when it's like that all the time, that's when you have to do something about it or you can become sick. But everybody floats in and out of it. And we need that. We need both sides of our nervous system.
So if you were in a parasympathetic state all the time, would that equally be harmful?
Aye. You wouldn't do anything. You would just sit there and vegetate. Slavers, no. But you wouldn't, because you've got no energy. Imagine just lying there with no energy. You'd just be like that.
Yeah.
You'd have no motivation. You wouldn't be able to think. You wouldn't. Who wants to eat? Who can be bothered getting dressed? Who wants to do anything? I can't, and you wouldn't. It's equally as bad. It's just as bad as being hyper anxiety. You want to have that nice balanced life in between both of them. That's important. That's what we're all aiming for, is a balance.
I think
Recognizing that we'll go into toxic and you dial down, you can pull yourself back into well-being.
that's a great pickup for me actually, because I've been so focused on trying to get into this state of, this parasympathetic state, that actually it's okay to be going through periods of stress right through your day. So
Normal, normal. That's important. It's expected. We'll all do it. I'd be,
yeah.
I'd be concerned if none of us were having that because that's us functioning as healthy human beings.
So yeah, I think that's really, for people that are watching this as well that may be thinking, I need to always be in that state of calm. I think that's a really good thing to know, that, we can be fluctuating right throughout the day, which is a really healthy way to be. But if you're like all day, that's no good for you. And equally, if
No,
you're all day, that's no good for you. So it needs to be a bit of
that
uh.
that's that's why I don't talk about just relaxing the body, and I talk about self-regulation, because what it's all about is regulating what's going on inside you, so you can have that energy when you need it, but you can dial it down when you don't need it. So it's regulating. Imagine it like a thermostat on the wall. You can just turn it. You're doing that to yourself. You're regulating your function of your body.
I love that. And I've never actually thought of it in that way. I've never thought of the dialing down stress thing, because I've always thought I am too stressed in a day. Whereas actually, those periods of stress are good because they motivate me and they move me to do the things that I need to do.
Yep.
But then when it comes overwhelming, then I can go, ooh.
If you think about it, right, anyone who is good in a learning situation or who is like in the workplace, like you do things like writing courses and things like that, you need the motivation, you need the energy, you need the thought process, right?
Yeah.
So you need that bit extra to give you that focus and attention. So if you didn't have that, you'd just be like, act to hell, I'm not doing it. So yes, we do.
That's brilliant. And anybody watching as well, please do comment and let us know what you think of that. Because I suppose, we've been speaking so much about dialing it down that we've actually probably not been speaking more about the balance side of it.
It's quite
So
a good it's quite a good way to think of it, like a thermostat. You're turning down your stress, you're turning up your stress. What you're actually doing is regulating your body and mind. You're the one that's in control of it. You have the tools to do that.
yeah, it's like if you were, working on your computer all day and your computer starts to overheat, you're going to turn it down. You know, you're going to give it a rest. Your phone, if your phone the battery in your phone is so low it needs to be charged, you're going to put your phone away to charge your phone.
Yeah.
So it's really, really fascinating how we do kind of bob between these states. And
we do. It's normal. And I say that. I mean, people come to see me and they'll say, I'm always anxious, or get really anxious and I'm stressed. And do you know what? I'm not sleeping right. I'm starting to feel sick, all these sort of things. I always say to them, I determine whether it's all the time. And I'll say, what you're describing is you've got a predominant sympathetic nervous system. And I always say to them, I have to tell you what you're describing is how your body's designed to react. It's doing exactly what it's meant to do in this situation, and it's expected to do. That's all you need to do then, is you need to learn to dial it down and come back out of that state. But it takes effort, because you can't just turn it down in 2 minutes. Well, you can, but you've got to go back up. So that's where it comes into the 100 times a day, making it habitual, that you're regulating all the time.
I suppose it's being aware of it, isn't it? That's the key. It's having that awareness when that stress is becoming too much to turn the thermostat down.
But what I'm saying is you do it all day, 100 times a day, if you're aware of it or not. Because if you do the wet noodle 100 times a day, aware of it or not, remember, it only takes 1 second to do it. What you're doing is then you're constantly pulling yourself out of that toxic stress area.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not waiting to become aware of it. You're doing it anyway to dial it down and pull yourself back out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, if you do it that often every day, then it's going to become into that habitual. It's just something that you do. And you didn't even need to fluff. You didn't need to look as silly as Stephen, right?
Glad you noticed I was doing it.
I'm doing it now. So in my head's not thrown back. I mean, I like the drama as well. But if you just sit there and just do that, that's me now relaxing every muscle in my body. If I hadn't told you, you would not know that I was doing that. But I'm doing it.
It doesn't have to be that. It can just be.
Just take a breath and relax. And when I do it, my belly goes plop, because I'm no longer holding my belly in. I'm just letting it all go.
Yeah, if I'm sitting here doing it, I feel my hands get really heavy, my shoulders drop.
Shoulders drop. Because remember, we just want to imagine if we didn't have a skeleton. Imagine we didn't have a skeleton. When you let your muscles relax, you would just be a wet blob on the floor, right? So, but we're just going to be that wet blob because we know our skeleton's going to support us.
Yeah,
that's what you're looking for.
I love it.
And so it does help.
Questions, because we're at 1:15. Would you believe we're at 1:15?
Yeah, it's been really quick.
So we're going to go to questions, and what I want you guys to do is ask Susan anything that you want. Absolutely anything. Do you know, we were laughing because Susan's she was saying, what's the topic for tomorrow? And I was like, we're going to talk about sex addiction, as a laugh, obviously. And Susan's actually a trained psycho-sex therapist. Is that right?
Psychosexual therapist. So it's not that there's anything wrong physically with someone. It's their mind that's perhaps causing issues with sexual relationships.
That's mad. I didn't even know that was an actual thing. It's crazy.
I did training it a couple of years ago. Did I really use it? I don't advertise it or anything like that. And I'm not going to go into the details here, Stephen.
We could do a special Valentine's special next week, actually. We could, just as a... Anyway.
No, I'm not.
So, Teresa is saying, we're preconditioned to think stress, particularly in women, is just being neurotic. Interesting.
I think there is a history of that, actually. Well, what it used to be known is when people had really high stress issues, you'd say that somebody's got nervous problems. They've got problems with their nerves. And I guess it is problems with the nerves. It's our nervous system inside us. But it's not the way that society picked it up. So you're right, Teresa. But remember, just think of stress as energy, and it's an excess energy in the body. And it's like just release valve. Just let that release valve go and dial down that stress. Because trust me, men get stressed just as much as women.
Yeah. Joanne is saying, I absolutely love the wet noodle. I've been doing it all week. That's amazing, Joanne.
That's great. It's one of my favourites as well. But I like when nobody's watching me, I like to do it all dramatic. I do silly things like roll about the floor and that, because I've got a wee child inside me that sometimes likes to get out. So I like doing that.
I was out with the kids yesterday. We were out a walk, and we'd done wet noodles in the snow, and then snow angels, and the kids loved it. We were just lying there in the snow, looking at the sky, and it really made me think. How many times when you were young, because I was that kid, right, that used to lie on the grass and stare at the sky for, I don't know, hours maybe, watching the clouds, seeing images in the clouds. But how many times do we actually do that? Just lie there and just be present in that minute and look at the clouds, feel the ground beneath us,
I think people are getting better at it.
Yeah.
I think we're getting better at it. I think for a while it wasn't as widespread. People didn't really talk that much about it, but I think more now. But I am a big fan of doing silly things, in the sense that I talk to people to connect with that inner child in them. That we all need to have more fun and more laugh and enjoy life the way we did. Laugh like a child. Do something silly. That's what I always say to people. And that's why when I do the wet noodle, I like to make it all dramatic and flop about and roll about the floor and things like that. And I like working with kids because I think we lose that connection. And do you know what? As adults, we take life too seriously. We need to have more fun, more laughs, more silliness.
Laughter really does, though, raise your vibration, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's the colour of laughter, just out of curiosity?
I would go for yellow, because yellow's a happy colour, the colour of happiness. I mean, I think really laughing, like belly laughing, it gives you such a happy, joyous feeling. So to me, I would give it the colour, the yellow. I mean, if I had a really big belly laugh with somebody or had a really good experience, then my mind's going back here to wet noodling on the floor of your shop, Stephen, right? When I think about that, that still brings me up a really happy feeling. Because that's just what it was. So I'm going to go with yellow for that. Let's go with the happy.
Do you know, there's something that I do quite often, and it's absolutely hilarious. I'll send you the video, actually. There's many videos that you can get on YouTube, but when I'm feeling a bit down, I like to laugh because it just lifts me up. And there's these videos on YouTube, and my wife, it drives her insane when I'm in this state. And it's videos of people, and these slingshot rides that you sit in, and it goes up, it shoots you up really fast. But it's these people, so they're in the slingshot ride, and then halfway up, they're fainting. So they're like floppy.
No.
They are absolutely hilarious, and I know it's really wrong to laugh at people who are like in this incapacitated state, but they are so funny because the people come back and they're, I'm fine. You need to
I would be excreting body fluids out of every orifice in my body. That's what I'd be doing. So all I could say is, if I'm ever going to go into a slingshot, nobody stand anywhere within a 10-foot margin.
But it's those kind of things, though, that like see watching things that are really, really funny, I suppose, really lift you, don't they?
It does. And do you know what? You can say that to people who've got low moods. Watch something that really makes you laugh, or find a good comedy or something like that. Anything that can release these feel-good hormones is good. And actually, they do that quite a lot with people with depression. They ask them to watch things like funny YouTube clips or comedy shows and all these things. It does change your mood, give you that wee lift. Need it.
I remember some of the the clearest, happiest memories of my childhood is us all sitting watching You Been Framed and laughing our heads off at the things that were going on. And it wasn't, I remember I never really ever looked at these videos and thought that that's funny, but I would laugh because my mum and dad were laughing.
Aye.
So it was really infectious. It really like lifted the mood in the whole house. And equally, Top of the Pops would come on a Friday night. And I remember my sister and I dancing in the middle of the floor in the living room to Top of the Pops every single Friday. I'm sure it was a Friday it was on, Top of the Pops. Was it? Can you remember?
I can't remember. Thursday. I think it was a Thursday, actually. It was about 7 o'clock on a Thursday. I think it was. Maybe. I'll have to look into that. I can remember, I've got a memory you're talking about that with my daughter Laura, and I think she would have been about 13. And it's an REM song, Shiny Happy People. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, Shiny Happy People.
So we had that on, and they do silly dancing in it. Right, and Laura and I had this blasting, and they were doing this stupid REM dance up and down the living room. Right now, you're talking about Laura's 41 now, right, and we both still to this day talk about that day and how much fun it was, and it was just laughing. So it's good. So these things really stay in your memory and give you lasting years of wonderful feelings when you think back at these memories. So laughter's it's really good.
I remember as well, really clearly, a couple of years ago, my granny, she was quite unwell in hospital, and I was obviously at a hospital where, so I wanted to cheer her up, so I'd opened up my Snapchat and I'd put the filters on the Snapchat, and obviously her face was changing with the filter, and she was sitting there really quite unwell. She'd had a massive heart attack, and she's
brilliant, no way.
Laughing her head off. She's like, "Is that me? Oh my god! Look at oh my god!" So I suppose anything that's really lifting your energy makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the nurses saying when I went in the day after that, they were like, "What is it you done with your granny yesterday?" Because see, when you went away, she was sitting up in bed. She was really alert. She was eating. She ate her dinner that night, and my granny was really notorious for not eating when she was in hospital. But she was really chipper and perky, and it's good energy. It's good medicine, isn't it?
So that's it. What we all need to do is go away and laugh more, have more fun. That's what we need to do.
Absolutely. Have more fun. Do things that make us laugh. Do things that are funny.
Just silly things. Let's not take life so seriously.
Yeah. Aye. You've got me really thinking now of ways that I can laugh today.
One of the things that I started a few years ago was my hula hoop. I mean, I hadn't a hula hoop since I was about 9 or something, but I bought a hula hoop. Really, it's a form of exercise, but it was a fun form of exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And I still like it. I'm really good at it now, actually, but I really enjoy it because it's laughing all over the place with my hula hoop. It makes me laugh as well because it's like going back to being 9 years old on a hula hoop, enjoying myself.
And just I'm laughing. There's have you heard of Jupiter Artland in East Calder? No. So there's this place in East Calder called Jupiter Artland, and it's open seasonally, but they've got this big, beautiful, grand hall inside it. And there's a girl that does yoga in there. And is it in there? It is in there. I'm absolutely sure it is in there. Anyway, so there was this yoga class that was going on in this Jupiter Artland place, and I'd said, "Yeah, I would really like to try yoga." So my friend Juliana had said to me, "Come along to the yoga class that I go to," and I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, that's brilliant." So we were meant to be going to Jupiter Artland, but didn't. We were at a place in God, where Sky is. That estate where Sky is. Anyway, so we're in this hall and we're all standing and like doing the yoga poses, as you do. And I was on the rubber mat on the floor, my legs were up, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to fart here. I'm going to fart, and I didn't. But I could not stop laughing at the thought of farting, right? So I didn't like fart really loudly or anything like that, but I could not stop laughing at the thought of it. And the yoga teacher came over, and I thought, I'm going to get in trouble here for laughing. And she's like, "That's brilliant. Keep that laughter going because it's really infectious. It's filling everybody else up with that good energy." And I'm like, maybe I should just fart then, just to. But then it got me thinking as well. Imagine if I was in that big hall where I was supposed to be and I had farted. Anyway. Again, it's just funny things though, isn't it? It's like laughter's good medicine. It lifts us, it makes us feel great. And even speaking to yourself or speaking to anybody, some weeks like yesterday, I was speaking to John Seary, and some of the comments that come up on the side there, I try my best not to laugh. But you've met John, John,
yeah.
And somebody posted, and it was my brother-in-law, and I texted him and I said to him, "Don't you ever do that to me again." But he said, "Stephen, congratulations, you got a celebrity on your Soul Man Surgeries, Brendan for coach trip." So I'm sitting there
I know who Brendan's for coach trip is.
I'm sitting there, I'm looking at John, and I'm thinking, oh my God, all I can see is this Brendan for coach trip. So obviously, yeah, John never seen the comments, obviously, so thank God for that. But what a laugh. And it just makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Yes, it really does.
Now I'm talking shite, but
you know what, Stephen, we're all used to it. It's okay.
Thanks very much, Susan. But it's true though, like.
Do you know what though? We talk about laughter, but the best thing you can do is learn to laugh at yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I laugh at myself frequently, every single day. I laugh at my own jokes as well. I maybe send, like yesterday, I sent Susan a message because Susan is part of our Soul Man Wellness Hub, and April had posted something up, and Susan was like, "Well done, April. Go you." Right? So she'd put this hand emoji.
I never knew.
The hand emoji like that is not the same as the hand emoji like that, because the hand emoji like that is like, yes, fist bump. The hand emoji like that is a very different emoji. So we were having a really good laugh at Susan yesterday for that. And she was totally unaware of what we were laughing at, but I'm laughing.
I had no idea until you did send me a message and tell me what it meant.
If anybody knows what that hand emoji means, pop it in. No, in fact, didn't pop it in the comments because you'll set us off again. So anybody got any questions for Susan? Because I am talking absolute mince now, but I think the purpose of it is to make people laugh. So Teresa's asking what the Teresa's asking what the hand emoji is. Would you like to?
I'll tell you what it is, Teresa. It's when somebody is self-satisfying themselves. I never knew that. And Stephen's just really a coughing fit.
There you go. Joanne knows what it is. See, there you go.
I never knew. I'm going to bump over the.
We've lowered the tone of the Soul Man surgery. Thank God that it's past and we're finished now. So yeah, it is really funny. We're all human beings and we can all have a laugh over these things. So I hope that the first half of the Soul Man surgery today has really, really helped you. And the second half... And the second half has really made you giggle. So, Susan, as always, thank you so much for today. Monday, I think we should have a really serious conversation rather than just having a giggle for the last 15 minutes. So will we think anybody want to hear anything different from Susan, anything that you want us to cover on Monday, please pop it into the comments as well before we go.
If anybody wants to hear about the different therapies that are out there, ones that I'm talking about, the eye movement therapies, emotional therapies, kinetic shift, flash therapies, I've got a long list of different therapies. Or even if you want to hear anything about how psychosexual therapies work, I would be willing to discuss it, but not in too much detail to amuse Stephen.
Would you like to hear about that just for something different, actually, psychosexual therapy, because it is Valentine's Day on. It's Valentine's Day on Sunday.
So it is. You got your wife a card?
No, we don't do Valentine's Day.
I just get a card. Usually a sarcastic one.
It's our wedding anniversary on the 18th, so we never do Valentine's Day.
Every day's a Valentine's Day, yeah.
Yes, she's married to me, so that's a bonus in itself. You might laugh, Susan.
I was thinking, God, Nicky, how do you put up with him? A scene. That's what I'm thinking. Yes, scene.
Well, thank you very much for today, everybody. Thank you again, Susan. We'll have a wee think about what we're going to talk about on Saturday.
Monday.
But have a lovely weekend, everybody. I'm not here tomorrow or Sunday because we only do Soul Man surgeries Monday to Friday. You'll be glad to know after today's episode. But please do take care. Have an absolutely amazing weekend. And remember, balance. Dial down stress.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susan. And stick around because we can go backstage and have a... I'm going to get my ass kicked the minute I go backstage, by the way. She's going to shout at me. See you later, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.